Very, very warm welcome to our podcast, brought to you by Michael Glanville Executive Coaching. And as I always say, I've got a huge privilege to be here in London at the Clarity Global offices with Rachel Gilley, Chief Executive. Clarity Global is a multinational digital marketing, PR and communications agency. And Rachel's very kindly going to walk us through her story and how that business is growing. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
So let's start off, as I try and do with all of my guests, towards the sort of start of your journey. Where did digital marketing start to feature in your career? Because you've worked for some big firms.
Yes. So I actually started in thinking I wanted to get into lobbying, politics.
Okay.
So that's where I originally started, but I'd always had a desire to work in technology. That was something that I'd always had. And there were lots of communications agencies starting out at the beginning who were getting into that specifically. So I started with one firm who I ended up staying with for a very long time, over a period of time. And that's initially where it all began. And then what was communications and classically PR back then sort of became an integrated mix of which digital marketing became part of it as well. So we now operate a fully integrated marketing consultancy, which is very exciting.
And so much has changed in digital marketing over the years and is changing massively now. And perhaps if you're okay, we'll kind of touch on that with the evolution of AI. But what do you think has been so far the single biggest change in marketing communications that you've experienced?
Goodness, that's a huge question. I think probably the way that our clients, customers are engaging, how they're looking for choosing, identifying brands and companies they want to work with, and therefore how are we taking their message to market. There's just so many different channels, and over the years that I've been working in it, lots of service lines have been sought out by clients more than others. Budgets have changed over the course of times. The macroeconomic conditions have changed, and all of those have had an impact on how we're all trying to consult our clients on the best way to reach their audiences. And obviously AI, you add AI on top of that, and that is completely reshaping, particularly in our world, which is predominantly B2B technology brands, completely reshaping the way that the buyer is actually being found. So yeah, interesting times.
Really interesting times. And that's hard to be building a brand and building a business when you've got so much change. A lot of the leaders we talk to on this particular podcast is they're finding change the most difficult.
Yes, I think in my position, I've sort of got to have a view of it all. And I think the hardest part for leaders is just the amount of information that is out there. You could spend 24 hours a day just reading up and try to keep on top of people's opinions and thoughts, of which many of those differ depending on who you follow. And I think there comes a point upon which you say, actually, I can't read it all. I can't know it all. What I have got within the organisation is brilliant people who understand their craft incredibly well. And I go to them for my points. You know, we have a fantastic CTO, and I will go to Will probably once a day and say to him, I've just read this, is this true? And he'll go, well, some of it is. Some of it's snake oil. What you've got to remember is. And I will go to lots of people within the organisation who are heads of their particular service lines and their sectors and ask them for where they think it is. Because very much they're closest to it probably than even I am.
Interesting. And you haven't always been CEO of this organisation, so you've worked in it for a little while and then you had the opportunity to kind of step up. That's quite a big transition. I've done it myself. It's, it can be a lonely journey, but it can actually be a really rewarding one, but also a really difficult one. What would you say was the biggest challenge when you took on that sort of role at the beginning?
Yes, it was. So I took over as CEO in January 24, and I took over from a founder. So I always think that comes with its own elements, because it's been done under the guise of somebody who's obviously started up their own business, and then you're taking that over. So it's having the confidence to know that nothing needs to change overnight, but that people are looking to you to bring your leadership, thoughts and views and vision to the business. And believe in yourself that the way that you think it should be done is something that everybody else is going to get behind. So I think that is right. You touched on being lonely. I think there were definitely elements in early 24 when I was like, my goodness, okay, I cannot do this on my own. I need to surround myself both with people in the organisation, and I have some fantastic people on the senior leadership team that I can turn to, but I also think outside the organisation. I think actually having people that you can go to, whether they know your business or don't, is incredibly helpful. Just to, they can give you some harsh truths, some realities, some different perspectives, and I think that's incredibly helpful. But the reality is the responsibility of being a CEO, and I know the job title obviously suggests that you have that. It's a big one. You think about it all the time. You're constantly aware that everybody that you represent needs to pay a rent or a mortgage. You're conscious that some of them are just starting out on their working journeys, and actually these are their formative years, and you want them to learn and enjoy the whole experience.
That influence you're giving them,
yes, totally,
at the start of their journey.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yes. So I think it's been an interesting time, and I think we're also in interesting times. So I took over in January 24. We felt that things were slightly changing on a macroeconomic scale coming out of 23, and 24 was tough. 24 was tough. And I think we had to navigate, there was just so much going on: war, interest rates, inflation, the tech slump, which is where we operate. All of that hit us in 24. And I think probably one of the reasons why I'm so excited about this year and what we're achieving is that we made it through that period. The team was incredibly resilient. We just doubled down on what we were good at. We made sure our clients understood what we were about. And I think we're reaping those rewards now in 25. It's not easy, but I think if you can lead a group of people through some of the toughest times, then I think, karma or otherwise, by luck or by design, I think you can see the rewards of that.
And they'll follow you, and they can start to see your vision.
Yes.
That's amazing. And so coming back to the sort of day you heard that you'd got the role of CEO, and as you say, lonely times, but a little bit of imposter syndrome creeping in, do you think? Or?
Definitely imposter syndrome.
How did you deal with that?
Yes. And I read differing views on this. Some people who think imposter syndrome is normal and you would expect that, and others who don't believe in it, and they've got lots of theories for why people feel like they do. I don't know that it was a bad thing. I have imposter syndrome today. I mean, I've been doing the job for 2 years. I think it keeps me fresh. I think it keeps the adrenaline flowing. I think it makes me question all the decisions I make in a positive way. Does anybody ever wake up and think, I'm the CEO and I know it all? I think that would be extraordinary.
I hope not.
No, it's a hard gig.
It is a hard gig.
And if it was easy, I mean, and there's just so much to factor into it. And, I love what I do, and I love the people that I work for in this organisation, and I take that incredibly seriously. But I don't think that imposter syndrome thing ever goes away, and I hope it doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it keeps you on your toes, doesn't it? I suppose a little bit.
It certainly does that.
But it's interesting because I'm writing an article at the moment on trust in business, and I think the article's turning itself into as much about trust in oneself and confidence in oneself as it is about trust in the team. And sometimes you feel like everybody's going to let you down at some point. You can't give them 100% of the trust. But how do you feel you've built that kind of relationship of trust and confidence and empowerment, I suppose, within the organisation, within your sort of key team members?
Yes, I think my whole approach, and obviously I come from a communications background, is to be open and transparent. Probably more than has always been positive, but I believe by sharing as much as you can within the guardrails that you have to operate in when you're a CEO of a business, I think it means that people feel that they can come to you and address concerns they have. I mean, we have lots of ways within the business that we allow people to come and tell us anyway. I run Ask Me Anything sessions, and I do it with the whole organisation. There's about 10 groups of people I meet with every second quarter of the year, and there is no question that's off the table. We have a suggestion box, which is a classic way for people to come. We constantly ask people for feedback through our engagement surveys. We ask people to talk to their managers, to never sit on something that's bothering them. That's always been my approach. It's always been my style. Nothing is more frustrating for a leader than to hear that somebody's left because something wasn't fixed, because there was a problem. If we don't know about it, it is impossible for us to take it on board. And not everything can be solved as a leader either. We can't, there's 100 people in our organisation, for sure. The decisions we make are not going to work for all 100 people. But I think if people raise their concerns, then I think you're in a position to explain why you've made the decisions you do. And I think that's about as close as you can get to asking people to trust you as you can go.
I love the Ask Me Anything
Yes.
session. That's really smart.
Yeah.
I like that. And if you may not be able to say, don't break any confidences here, but have you ever had somebody come to you in your Ask Me Anything session with a question that you just are not prepared to answer?
Do you know, I don't think I have.
That's really nice.
I don't think I have.
There's a level of respect there that...
I think there's a level of respect. I've certainly been asked some punchy questions.
Yeah.
I will come back out and I'll say to my group, wow, we've got some really smart, young, ambitious people in our team, and they are not afraid to ask the tough questions.
Yeah, great.
And I don't think I've ever not given them a straight answer. So long may that continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Clarity Global is an international business, so you've got offices all around the world, which is absolutely incredible. But as a CEO, that must make life really, really difficult. You know, if you're traveling to, say, LA or to Australia for a meeting, then you're out of contact for a long period of time. And I used to find in business, you know, if I'm out of contact with the team, I find that that's something difficult for me. I like to be able to feel like I'm in control. How do you manage that? How do you manage yourself in those sort of ways? Or do you not find it too much of a challenge?
I'm trying to think, do I find it, when I go away, I think you're always present in the country that you're in at that time and with the team you are at that time.
That's nice.
And I think because I'm based in London and this is our HQ and it's our largest office, we've got about 65, 70 people here in this office. And I come in as often as I can. We do 2 days a week. We're often in more than 2 days a week. And I love being here and I love being present. I think when I travel, I take that very seriously. I want to spend time with the teams when I'm over there. So I think less about what I'm not doing back at where is probably my base, and much more about in the time that I've got with everybody, can I make sure I'm doing one-to-ones with everyone? Can I make sure that I'm doing everything that's very easy to do when you walk past somebody's desk? How am I making sure that I maximize that time when I'm in market? So I don't worry about it so much. I mean, we've got emails and Slacks and WhatsApps and I suffer from jet lag from when I travel. So I don't think you're ever off. And if somebody needs to get hold of you, that's absolutely positive. I think the hardest bit is, you know, I'd like to spend more time with everybody in every market, and that's not always possible. So I think, we just maximize the time as efficiently as you can to make sure everybody feels that they've had that time with you.
Interesting. And so managing your on time and managing your off time, if you allow me to phrase it that way, that's really tricky when you've got different time zones, you know, because CEOs are always on 100% of the time, 24/365. You can't switch off from it, can you?
No.
But when you literally can't switch off from it because people have got questions for you in the middle of the night, I mean, you must have created a great culture amongst the organisation of understanding that, you know, you live in the UK and, you know, there are times where you won't be able to be accessible.
Yes, I think people know that. I think we have just such great leaders of the geographies themselves that I have no doubt that in the moment where I might not be accessible, they make smart decisions, they manage that situation, and quite often it's just an update, this happened, just need to let you know, can we discuss it, can we fix a meeting? I think you've got to be flexible with your time, and obviously we've got Australia at one end, we're here at the moment, we've just gone through that time zone change for winter timing, so that does make it slightly trickier, so meetings can start at 7 a.m. or earlier, and they can start at 10 p.m. in the evening. But we're global. It's one of our values. It's one of the reasons that we wanted to be a global organisation. So I kind of say to people that's part of the deal. And you've just got to get used to it. We try not to make it impinge on people's life. And you know, everyone's got, you know, families or partners or whatever it is. So we try and space them out as much as we can to make that work for everyone. But the reality is if you need to be on, you need to be on. I'm responding to Slacks most evenings on my phone if people need to access me, and I'm fine with that. That's the gig.
That's good. So you've got yourself in that mindset.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Some people find that incredibly difficult. So and you've got a family. You've obviously got other interests. I think I read somewhere that you are a member of a choir, a bit of a singer.
Goodness,
is that right?
Yes. Well, yes, and I got to that point where I thought, goodness, I need something that, not just that I had outside of work, but that literally nobody could get hold of me.
Okay.
Not even my family.
Having said that, you're always accessible.
I'm always accessible except for an hour and a half on Tuesday nights. And I joined it not knowing if I was going to do it. And gosh, I love it. I don't know if I'm any good, but it's part, you've got to concentrate. You can't have your phone on. No one can get hold of you. You're part of something else. I love that whole collaboration piece. And yeah, so I've done it for a couple of years now, and it's been a brilliant. And when I can't do it because work or something comes up, they're all very, very understanding, and they get that. But I think it's being part of something, also local community. I love that. I love being able to walk down the street on a Saturday morning and see people that I know from something that is part of our local community.
That's really nice.
And so I love it. Yes, and you've got to have that. You've got to have things outside of work. I used to play the piano, and I thought about taking that back up again, but actually the practice is the hard bit for me.
Finding the time.
You have to practice to do it, and I just wasn't, maybe I wasn't disciplined enough, but it was quite hard to find that time to do it. So instead I listen to my kids who do play the piano instead and think, yeah, that's how I'll get it.
You're going to find the time. I mean, I did see when I came in a folded up table tennis table, so maybe the next thing for Clarity Global is a piano in the boardroom. Just over here,
that would be a dream.
That would give you your excuse to
well, that would give me my excuse. I don't know how the other floors would feel about it, because you can hear just about everything in these very cool, trendy buildings. But yeah, no, that would be amazing.
Okay, so no, it's really good. So one of the questions that I like to ask is the highest highs and the lowest lows. So you've had an incredible career journey so far, so much more to do. But what would you say? We'll start with the low. What would you say was your lowest point, if you've had a low point in your journey, and what you learned from that?
Gosh, I think I've been incredibly lucky in my career. I've been championed by brilliant people, which has enabled me to take on bigger roles. I think I'm finding this period of time on a macro scale is quite challenging. I think misinformation. When you look at I think I read a quote that 2025 is the year that two things can be true, which I just find absolutely extraordinary. And I'm bringing up two children. One's 18, she's just gone to university. The other one's about to start her GCSEs. And I think, my goodness, what this world of misinformation just on a personal level. And then you scale that up to what we do as a business and our role, managing reputations, making sure that we're representing our clients and giving them the right consultancy, how they should show up and what that narrative should be. It's very difficult to do this right now. It takes so much more thought and consideration about what we're doing and the implications of it. I think the backpedaling on ESG and D&I, I've loved through my career how those have become such huge, important issues. And it's within the DNA of our business. And some of that backpedaling has been hard to understand when I've believed it right to my core. And obviously very difficult for some of our clients, particularly if they're US based and HQ'd, even if they've got global offices, where they're asking us to judge them by what they do, not by what they say. And you can understand the difficulty. So I find those are hard. They're not so much lows, they're just quite consequential in the world that we live in right now. And I think that adds another layer on top of just trying to do good business and showing up well.
It does add a lot of complexity, because you're a registered certified B Corp,
certified B Corp, yeah.
And that's it. Forgive me if I get this wrong, but it's a UK based system, isn't it? So how does that transfer to the way the organisation operates globally?
You can bring other entities into the B Corp, and actually our Australian business, which has been hugely successful and does so much work in the sustainability space. When we went for the certification, they weren't quite on board when we did the acquisition, so they will come back in 27. So it's one of our values. It's how I show up. I feel incredibly passionate about it. Therefore, everyone else has to be, but it's not hard. Everybody feels very strongly about that. Inclusivity, equality, the world that we're creating from a sustainability perspective. These are passion projects for lots of people, and certainly for me. So it's been interesting and frustrating watching all of that take place and then trying to operate our way through that.
So one of the lows being the challenging environment that we're working in. So what about the highs? What have been the highs?
Goodness, highs. I think I've always worked in agency, which means it's all about people, naturally. And I just can't imagine another career, because I just get so much from working with teams. And I think particularly here at Clarity, we did 4 acquisitions over a very short period of time, which is bringing lots of different people together into our organisation. And I think for me, this year has probably been the highlight for me through all of my career, you know, where I am, what I've learnt, the journey that I've been on. And I feel that both commercially and culturally as an organisation, we've never been stronger in amongst all the nonsense that's going on. And I think, you know, I've taken more time to step back and just look at it and think, my goodness, how have I got this lucky to be working with such a fantastic team, with clients who love and value the work that we deliver. It's not without its challenges, as you would expect, but I don't think I've ever been more confident in what we're trying to do. And that feels amazing.
That's a real high, yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
And obviously, because you've had the opportunity now in that time to kind of bed yourself in as CEO, everybody sees you as that. They're following you and not somebody else. And yeah, that's a big change for the organisation.
Yes, it is.
But some really great lessons from that.
Yes, definitely. And we look back on the journey and what we've done through that period of time. You know, I couldn't be prouder of what we've all done as a team to get us where we are. And there will be new challenges that we don't even fully understand yet that are coming down the line. But I mean, I guess that's part of the excitement of
remain agile.
Exactly that.
Yeah, incredible. Okay, so what would you say was the most challenging people management situation you've had to deal with? A lot of, and the reason for asking the question is, a lot of the interviews that I do, people comes up time and time. The subject of people comes up time and time again, and obviously has done in our discussion. It's a big part of the fundamental of what we do about being successful in business.
Yes,
but it's not always easy. What would you say was, you know, a message you would give, or maybe a challenge that you've had?
Gosh, I mean, I think hybrid working has probably been one of the biggest things that I've had on my mind. When we went into COVID and then realised what it was going to actually look like, I think my first comment to the team 2 weeks in is, this will be over soon. Little did we know. We've completely changed the way that we work. And I'm also conscious that we have people who aren't necessarily client-facing, but we have lots of people who are client-facing by the nature of the jobs that we do. And I think this whole notion of social capital, the time that you spend together, what that fosters, the collaboration, the ease of communication, the ability for people to learn, just being around others, the energy. I'm trying to get the balance right. I mean, I can't imagine a time when we come back to 5 days a week. And I say that having spent most of my career doing
and most businesses do,
doing it. And we've got a new generation of people coming into our workforce, and they've never done. Some of them have never done in-office work. So, you know, you're dealing with an awful lot of generations. I think I read an article that said there are 6 generations now in some workforces at any one period of time.
Wow, it's a massive spread.
Which is, if you think, it's just extraordinary.
Yeah,
so what we're trying to navigate is lots of very real differences of ways that they believe productivity works, how people are motivated, how they operate. There's lots of chat about the snowflake generation. There is not one single person working at Clarity who I do not think gives their all every single day. So that isn't the question. The question is would we get more? Would we benefit as a global entity? Is our collective purpose and what we're trying to achieve going to be stronger if we spent more time together? And what would that do if you're looking at it from a commercial perspective, performance of a business? I just like being around people more. Now, that's not going to work for everyone. So I think for me, it's navigating what that looks like, constantly listening, taking feedback, asking people to try things, not coming out with sort of an autonomous rule and this is what it will be. It's making sure we do those consultations and we ask people how they're feeling, trying to break down the concerns that might be if what we believe is that we might want to do that more, whilst also acknowledging we have remote workers and I don't want them to feel that they're missing out. So I always said coming out of COVID, I thought hybrid working would be the biggest challenge we'd be navigating.
And it sounds like it, you know, it is. And I think a lot of business leaders would say the same thing. And some businesses have decided, you know, they're just going to say to everybody, come back 5 days a week, as you said.
Yes.
That must make it difficult, I think, to try and build a culture around that.
Yes.
But we're social animals, aren't we? You know,
We
people
are.
want to be together. The greatest ideas come from, what do they call it? The water cooler
The
conversation.
water cooler moments, absolutely.
Which is really interesting.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally.
Wow. No. So some big changes coming up then if you're going to be making adjustments, I suppose, to the way people
Potentially.
are
I mean,
working.
we've just started talking about it with people. Some of our officers already do more days. It's different with the size of your team. It's different if you've got more remote workers versus not remote workers. So, there's no hard and fast rules at all yet. We're going to be starting talking to people about it. But, we'll do what's right for the business, and we'll do what's right for our clients, and we'll do what's right to make sure that the culture that we have continues to be as good as it is. And we'll just find our way through that whole process. So, yeah.
Brilliant. And so a big thing about being in business isn't just about the internal culture, the way you're perceived, how the organisation operates, but of course it's how you handle and manage your clients, other stakeholders, banks, shareholders. There's such a massive amount of stakeholder management that a CEO has to do. What do you think are the highs from that? What is it that you really get the most out of when you're sort of building those relationships with clients? You said you're a CEO who wants to be involved in those things,
Yes.
but allow your team the opportunity to also take the baton. What do you enjoy about it?
I think it probably goes back to one of the questions you were asking at the beginning, which is the variety that you get from working in agency means that there's constantly different. You literally could be talking to one client in a fintech sector, and then you're talking to somebody about launching a product in health tech. You could be talking about a client who's all around cyber risk and what's that actually going to look like in a world of AI or quantum or whatever else is it. So the conversations are always so hugely diverse.
And you must be learning all the time as well, because they're all giving you information that isn't necessarily core to what you do.
Totally. And some of these clients are looking to us to support them on this journey. I think the exciting thing about AI is where we're going to be able to do much more of these predictions of where we think an industry or sector might go. We're not there yet, but I think that's where it's going to be interesting. But I think you're learning all the time. You are having fascinating conversations with people who are incredibly bright, who are sector specialists. And then I think we're then sort of bringing that back here to the office and saying, right, what is the right direction of travel for them? And it's got to be bespoke by each client. We might have sector specialists, but there's no cookie cutter approach to what we do. Clients have different budgets. They have different drivers on them. Some are going for investment. Some are launching a new category. Some are launching into a new market. So all of this means that you're coming up with different thoughts and campaigns and recommendations that they should be doing. I think the most exciting bit of being an integrated marketing consultancy, where we're bringing together all of these skill sets, is it means that you're collaborating with a whole group of people to come up with something really exciting for your client. And I think those are the best relationships we end up having, because we work with the client, we have a vested interest in their success, because it means we get to do great work.
Yeah.
And in an agency, you only keep people if you're doing interesting work for really exciting clients. Yeah. And so it's circular the whole time about how we do it. So, I mean, I think it's one of the best jobs ever, doing what we do. And I think it's going to get even more exciting with AI.
Yeah, well, so that was where I was about to go. I can't do a podcast without mentioning AI. So it's probably really frustrating for my viewers and listeners. But, AI is obviously going to have an impact on agency in both video and everything else that you do. So how are you, within your role, embracing the opportunity? What is kind of your direction around bringing AI into the business?
Yes. So we're all in. Okay. We are all in on AI. I mentioned earlier, we have a fantastic Chief Technology Officer who came over with one of the acquisitions we did. And he obviously, being in the know, started us thinking about this quite early on. So we had policies in place quite early. We have lots of training sessions that we do with all the teams. We want to bring everybody up at the same level throughout the whole organisation, so nobody is left behind on it. And there are some people who are using it, a lot, and then the majority have started using it hugely. And we saw that uptick the minute we started doing the training sessions, where people are not afraid; they're encouraged to use AI whenever they can, within the rules with which we've said that has to take place, acknowledging what clients want, etc. And so we've got lots of technology that we're deploying across the business. And we're excited about the opportunities we think that's going to bring to us. We believe it's a multiplier, this personalization that we can bring to clients now. There's much chat about what's it going to mean for the size of your teams and who do you employ. I don't think it's magic. It's incredibly clever. I mean, every time I use it, there's another wow moment.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's just produced that quickly and so well. But it is still algorithms. And I still believe humans are going to be required for a very long time to come to bring the communications and the compassion and the creativity that an algorithm is never going to be able to do, no matter how smart they get. Now, the question of what the makeup of that team looks like is up for discussion at the moment. And I think those are sort of interesting discussions. But we haven't got I think I read an MIT survey recently that said 95% of AI implementations in businesses have not yet returned an ROI.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
I think we're in this phase.
I read the same report.
Yeah. So I think we're in this phase where there's no doubt about it, mass uptake, but we still really don't know how to fulfill the potential of this technology. So we're quite a way away from it yet. But I think what we're trying to say to everyone is don't be scared of it. Trial it, use it, see where it can support. If it's going to ultimately benefit our clients, then we need to find ways to make sure that they can see the benefit of that. And if it means our teams are doing less admin, and what they're actually doing is the stuff that they're really good at, which requires critical thinking, creativity, strategic smarts, that can only be of a benefit both to them and to the client. So I think that's the journey we're on. As I say, it's just making sure we keep on top of it, and we're incredibly lucky to have a team of people who are embracing it as much as they are, and somebody as smart as our CTO to help us drive it through the organisation.
And it sounds like you've sort of built a critical policy around how it's used, and
yes,
and because there are some risks with it, and
very much
particularly
so.
in information and data management, GDPR, and all those other lovely things that we come up against. But yeah, it's great to hear that you're using it, embracing it, taking the opportunity. That's fantastic, and hopefully we'll see the future return on investment as well.
Totally. Well, General Counsel's got a huge role to play in that. So Caroline and our team, there's an awful lot of the legalities of it. Where do we stand? How do we make sure we're crossing all the the T's and dotting all our I's, because that is also hugely important, and the ethical setup of all of that. And our global finance director is also looking at it, because I'm like, I want to invest loads in it. That comes with trade-offs. How far do you go, and what do we invest in? So it's a whole organisation comes on that journey to decide what that looks like. But yes, our whole attitude is let's be excited about it. Let's not be afraid of it. Let's work out how we can use it to better everything that we're already doing.
Yeah, such a forward-thinking organisation. It's great. It's great to hear.
Let's see.
And you can't not be.
Yes, that's what I think.
Certainly
it's here, and it's going to keep coming in whatever format that's going to look like. And so we just don't want to have anybody who feels like they got left behind in that sweep as it comes on through.
So marketing, comms, PR obviously comes with its challenges when businesses have challenges of their own. And presumably Clarity is there to support businesses when things don't quite go according to plan. Do you help them with their crisis management and work through some of those sort of PR challenges? Totally.
I think that sort of reputation management piece has been hugely important. One of the acquisitions we did was an organisation based in Sydney called Cefiani. And they are known extremely well in market for their crisis comms services that they run. And they do an awful lot of very high level reputation work. And I think that has enthused the rest of the organisation to do it in a very smart way. We have a sort of templated way that we operate. Obviously, if it's global, we launched our Global Clarity Crisis Council last year. So making sure that, if a crisis does break with a client in one market, it's sort of a follow this on, way that we can support them. I think it's inevitable. Clients are going to have reputation issues. I think for us, what we're trying to do is when we set up a corporate strategy for a client from the beginning, it's baked into what we do. You can't predict every moment that happens, but I think ensuring that an organisation is prepared, that the right people understand how it's going to work if a crisis does break, that classic crisis playbook, which have changed and morphed because they're much more digital and online versions of how that works. Is hugely important. And if we are supporting clients on their comms work, then reputation is a key part of that.
Amazing. And you heard it here first. So Clarity Global is the place to go for your crisis management. It's one thing that keeps CEOs awake at night, of course.
Yes, exactly.
Especially in a world where you've got fake news and two versions of events, as you said earlier in the podcast.
Yes.
So what's next for Clarity Global? What's next for the business? Where do you want to take it next?
Yes, I mean, I think we are, it's something as not simple, but something like the budget coming up towards the end of this year is going to dictate an awful lot of what I think the short to mid-term is going to look like for our organisation. Trump, what he's getting up to in the US, that is having the same impact. I think for us, it's about, as I said, we've done quite a lot of integrations of acquisitions that we brought into the business. It feels like now we've clicked together brilliantly after that time. I think every acquisition takes about a year to bed in. And I feel like we're at this opportune moment now where by design, we have now got this agency that can respond to how AI is going to change the world that we operate in. I think we've got distinct competitive advantage in what is a highly competitive industry in terms of our capabilities and our team and where we specialize in, so fintech, health tech, cyber, sustainability, so highly regulated industries. And I think I'm just asking our team to continue to do the great work that they do. You know, we want to work for the most visionary B2B technology companies, and we want to be that agency of choice. So for me, you know, we will grow and our culture will grow and we will become scalable and respected and a hugely exciting business that everybody believes and can see the collective rewards from if we could just continue doing great work. And I think that work's going to change, which is also exciting with everything that's going on at a grander scale. But for me, I just want everyone to come to work, love what they do, feel like they give their best selves and could be part of something that's incredibly exciting.
Fantastic. So great business, great leader. What message would you give viewers and listeners if you were to give them a message today who are thinking about either getting into agency or who are thinking about getting into business and starting something of their own, or have an opportunity to step up into the big wide world of CEO? What message would you give them?
Yes. I would say, of all the messages I think that are out there, I would probably say surround yourself by people who are going to support you and lift you up on that journey, not just internally, but externally. You'll always think you're not necessarily good enough for the job. You will also always have concerns about what you're trying to achieve. There are a million different reasons why what the jobs that we do, whether you're starting out on your own, you're coming into agency, which is obviously being impacted by AI and the way that people are consuming. There are always reasons why it's going to be hard. But I think if you've got people around you who believe in you, you need that. You need people to keep convincing you that's the right thing to do. So I would say to people, go and find those people, find your tribe. And make sure that you've got them on the journey.
Find your tribe. You've heard it here first. Rachel, that has been an absolutely fantastic podcast.
Thank
Some amazing
you.
insights. Thank you very much for spending your time. If you have loved what you heard today, please go to our channel and click subscribe. There are loads of other amazing podcasts meeting amazing leaders on their journey to success. But for now, from Clarity Global, from Rachel Gilley, thank you so much for having us. We will see you in the next podcast.
Thank you.